So when it comes to knowing a language, at least for English in the United States, it's often estimated that the typical college graduate student, after they've graduated, knows between 75,000 and 100,000 words, which is pretty wild if you think about it. That being said, these estimates are not specific or hard boundaries by any means, primarily because new words are constantly being added to any particular language to deal with the fact that the world is constantly changing and our understanding about the world is constantly changing. Therefore, we need new words oftentimes to explain things, or we simply have new technologies that are developed that also need to be named, or sometimes we're just trying to communicate more effectively and we need more nuanced words to be able to explain our points of views. And all of these can lead to the novel generation of words, which can then bias or change these estimates. Now, when it comes to knowing a language, it is far more than just knowing what all of the words mean. When we talk about someone who knows a language, we're talking about them having 4 specific pieces of information about all of the words in that language, or all the words that they know in that language. So first is just how to make the sounds that are associated with the words themselves. So like right now I'm using a bunch of words and I'm making the correct sounds that go with those words. This would be referred to as phonological representations. Following this is orthography, which is the spelling of words. Now, of course, one can say that one can make lots of spelling errors and still know a language, but oftentimes even when we are making spelling errors, we can get quite close to the actual spelling of a word, even if it's not exactly correct. And this is something, excuse me, one sees a lot in English, because English has a lot of words that are spelled in odd or strange ways. And so even though phonetically you could sound it out and spell it, and that would lead to an incorrect spelling, that is just something to be aware of. Additionally, one needs to know about the syntax of the words themselves, or how they're correctly used in sentences so that those sentences themselves make sense. You can put certain words in certain places, but not in others, and knowing where to put which types of words is another important part of knowing a language. And finally, there is the vocabulary itself, which of course is very important, and this is referred to oftentimes as semantic representations of the words, at least. Another reason why it can be very hard to estimate the number of words a person knows is that when one learns a new word, this can often lead to now actually knowing many words, which sounds kind of weird, but hopefully this example will help illustrate this phenomenon. So let's say you learn a new word, and this word is toof, and to toof is to perform some type of action. Now, after you've learned this, you can also, without any effort really on your part, understand what a toofer is. A toofer is someone who toofs. You can also understand the word toofed, because now you also know that that just automatically means that the toofing happened in the past. And in that I just used another word, toofing, which you probably had no trouble understanding, even though it's a made-up word. And that toofing just means to be currently performing this action. So you can see here that just by learning an additional single word, we actually now have knowledge about 4 novel words that we did not know before. And yes, these are just modified versions of the original word, but all of those modifications ultimately result in the generation of novel words. This phenomenon is referred to as the generativity of language, and it is one of these things that we seem to be able to do intuitively. Largely, it's not a conscious process. You don't have to have sat somewhere and thought to yourself, okay, I just learned toof, and so toofed must mean this, and toofing must mean that, and a toofer must mean this. That extra information just seems to spontaneously be generated once we understand what the word toof means. And so this is actually very intriguing phenomena about how human beings process and deal with language.